Chapter 60. Teasing Underground Auction House, 3, you are listening at novelfull.audio. 100. 100 gold. That's how much Jean bid. For an ancient magic tome, the price wasn't too high or too low. However, the other guests thought Jean was crazy. He's paying 100 for that. There were also magicians who were curious. After all, a guy who hasn't bought anything for the past week just bid for a magic tome. 1.50, 150 on the table. Someone raised the bid, but it wasn't because they wanted the item. The bidder held in his laughter as he stared at Jean. He was teasing him. He wanted to make a fool of Jean for trying to strike it rich or attain a higher level of magic by buying a mysterious tome, which was a common sight during the magic tome auctions in the auction house. Jean just ignored him and called for the next bid. 1.70. If it were back in his first life, he would have called 1 or 2,000 to flaunt his money and destroy the provoker's pride. But Jean knew that this wasn't the time to attract attention. Any more bids? Going once. Going twice. Sold. Senmi's magic tome was delivered to Jean. With a straight face, Murakan opened the ancient tome and gripped Jin's hand. Kid, this is an amazing acquisition. This renowned shadow dragon was not an idiot obsessed with aura. He, like other dragons, could cast countless spells. And, back in his heyday, his magic skill level was at least 9 stars. An item that got Murakan all worked up. It must have spells incomparable to those of Ohenserkes. Additionally, Jin's and his companions' luck was yet to be over. This is the 25th item of the auction. Previously owned by Shoujen Hister. Let the auction begin. Hister. The name that Jean had the bar owner look into when he first went to a bar in Mummet. As soon as he heard the name, he doubted his own ears. Hister was the clan of Jin's master. But it was also a clan that officially dissolved hundreds of years ago. 200. Just as before, the crowd began to whisper after Jean called his first bid. They first thought he was somebody special, but now they thought of him as an idiot bidding for shit. 200. Anyone else? Shoujen Hister's tome was immediately sold. Hey, kid. Why'd you buy that? Are you feelin' something again? I thought it would be weird if I only bought one item, and I also have a good feeling about this one. As soon as the tome arrived, Murakan cracked open the book. Not even 1 minute in, he shook his head. Unlike Murakan, Jin's heart pounded as he examined the tome. It's just a tome with weird and complicated ciphers. Nothing too special. Murakan didn't seem to know. This weird and complicated cipher system was only known by 2 people, Jean and his master. And since Jean learned it from his master, Shoujen Hister must be his master's ancestor. After seeing the complex text, sorrow struck Jin's heart. He watched the auction continue, barely concealing his emotions. In the end, he didn't find anything interesting to buy. The night came to a close as the auction ended. Some guests stayed and enjoyed their time while others immediately left. Jean usually joined the latter, but tonight, he had to stay in the auction house. Jet. Yes, sir. I want to meet Spider-Hand Aloo. Usually, Jet would say that he understood. However, this time, his expression changed. Sir. That will be difficult. Even though you are a guest, meeting Aloo is impossible. The most I can do is introduce you to Salka. If you really need to meet him directly, then please give us a few days. Tell Aloo that Baradin Zipfel wanted to see him. It looked as if Jet's eyes would pop out as his face flushed red. He covered his mouth in shock. Baradin Zipfel. Understood. Instead of answering, Jet simply blinked. Shit. These guys weren't part of Vermont's special forces, but were members of the Zipfel clan. Cold sweat drenched his body. Even though Vermont's special forces were notorious, it wasn't comparable to the Lutero Magic Federation. If anyone else introduced themselves as Barrett and Zipfel, Jet would have scoffed and cussed at the sight. However, that was not the case. In Jet's eyes, Gene and his party were beyond comprehension. Additionally, they have been part of the Lutero Magic Federation for quite some time, so there is no way they would be accused of impersonating the Zipfels. Jet's brain was running at the speed of light. I was mistaken. Severely mistaken. They're not a part of Vermont's special forces, but are pureblood Zipfels. This is an encounter of a lifetime. 5 minutes ago, Jet's main goal was to become an informant of the presumed special forces unit. Then, he could have saved his life and earned some reward greater than that of Teesing's. But what about becoming a servant of a Zipfel? To a member of the Lutero Magic Federation, there is no greater honor than serving a Zipfel. As Gene lifted his hand, Jet stood with stone-cold eyes. He quickly passed a few employees and opened a door. Shit. Whatever. Whatever happens, happens. Murakin shrugged. Unlike his careless words, he was definitely itching for a fight. Gilly put her hand on her forehead as she heaved a heavy sigh. A runcandle impersonated a Zipfel. Other than getting the message to Alu, Gilly thought of a different, more important problem. If this information ever reaches the ears of future clan members or the Patriarch, then the young master will be executed. It would be the first time in the clan's 1,000-year history. Not only that, but the Zipfels were also surely going to get worked up to catch the impersonator. Lies are always meant to be uncovered. On the contrary, it's surprising how the young master committed these devious acts without remorse. The awkward melody of a violin filled the room. As time felt like it was slowing down, a different agent came to greet the three. You are Baradin. Slap. In a split second, Gene slapped the life out of the agent and caught the attention of the entire room. Are you Alu? He wasn't. Gene still asked despite knowing Alu's face. The agent looked confused, but he couldn't fight back or anything. If this insolent kid is indeed Baradin Zipfel, the entirety of Teesing could disappear overnight. No, sir. The boss ordered me to escort you to him. Slap. Gene slapped the agent once more. The agent quickly straightened his back and bowed as an apology for his ineptitude. Up until this moment, the plan went perfectly. Make Alu bring his ass here. I already revealed my name, and yet he sends over an underling. Whoosh. On his right hand, Gene conjured a crimson sphere made of flames. Jin's mask flickered. With one look, one could tell that it was, at the very least, a 5-star skill. Anyone can claim to be a Zipfel. However, a young boy invoking high-level magic and calling himself Zipfel seemed more convincing. I apologize. I will report this to the boss. The agents quickly led the other customers out of the auction house. The agent who got slapped was scrambling away, but Gene wasn't satisfied. Tell your stupid boss to crawl to my feet. Since he mistreated his guests, he must be punished. Gene discontinued the spell and scanned his surroundings. The rest of the guests had left, and the agents were startled. His words were loud and clear. If the boss actually appeared crawling on the floor, then the agents would have to do so as well. 5 minutes passed. Spider-Hand Alu crawled into Jin's presence. A fairly large middle-aged man crawling on the floor wasn't the most pleasurable sight. As for Alu, there were a million thoughts passing his mind. With him was a herd of his underlings, and among them was Jet who had bruises all over his face. It seemed that the others beat him up for saying bullshit about Baradin Zipfel being present. The other agents, who were awkwardly standing, quickly lowered their bodies to the ground. I guess Zipfel is a very scary name to hear. I'm sure the detected aura would be around 7-star, but they came crawling without even checking. If the situation proceeded as is, the rest of the job would be a piece of cake. After scaring Alu, they could examine the storage and take the Helm artifact. However, Alu wasn't just any easy human. If he ever saw an opportunity after conversing for a while, he would let loose and kill all three of them. Jean did not say anything while Alu crawled to his feet. Jean stood as if he was used to acting like a superior. Frankly speaking, he acted the same way back home. Rise. I am Alu, the man who runs the Teasing clan. I failed to recognize your excellency, and for that, I beg for mercy. With the other man towering over 2 meters, meeting Alu felt like facing a wall. However, he was permanently looking downwards, eyes never meeting Jin's. It was an obvious reaction after meeting an assumed pureblood Zipful. Shut up. Look at these. Jin tossed Senmi's and Shujil's tomes to Alu. What do these look like? Opening the tomes, Alu's face drained of color. They're magic tomes. I apologize. We sold ancient magic tomes without the Zipful's permission. These 2 tomes that I purchased today are greatly valued, even by my clan. I can't imagine the number of magicians who left to search for these, Baradin, sir. This may sound like an excuse, but I am unrelated to that. My stupidity couldn't realize the tomes' worth and troubled you. I will try my best to recollect the other auction tomes. Please give me a chance. Would you be faster at gathering them, or would we magicians be faster? Quit the bullshit and bring an accountant and customer registry. Starting tomorrow, my clan will investigate your mischief. As Jean skillfully lied, Alu realized that he had nothing to say. If the Zipfuls started the investigation, then the Teasings would be destroyed. Alu reconsidered his options. Baradin Zipful. Does his clan know that he's here? If they didn't, maybe getting rid of him would be better. Chapter 61. Teasing Underground Auction House, 4, you are listening at novelfull.audio. They're probably trying to comprehend the situation. Aside from identifying me as the real Baradin, they would be dying to know if the Zipful clan knew of this commotion. He would be thinking of that too. In extreme scenarios, humans tend to prioritize survival over anything else. They can't strike me anyway even if they confirm that I am acting without the clan's knowledge. The real Baradin Zipful and the impersonator Jean Runcandle. They could be identified as the brightest magicians of their era, but they were still in their teens. So fighting a group of Teasing's unregistered magicians would still be dangerous. There was actually no need to even summon them, Alu could probably deal with Jean by himself. But Baradin wasn't the only person that Alu had to consider. How good are Baradin Zipful's bodyguards? A young man with slanted eyes and an emotionless woman. In the process of getting rid of Baradin, the bodyguards were the greatest threat. It wasn't easy to consider. Seeing that neither of their auras were detectable, they could either be weak magicians or masters who concealed their true power. And Jet, come over here. Don't just sit there like that, yes, sir. Damn, your face is a mess. Did you get beat up after mentioning my name? Oh, I'm okay, sir. Don't worry about an insignificant guy like me, please remember your tasks. Yeah. Alright, then. Although Jean felt sympathy for Jet, he was the least of his concerns. What are you doing, Alu? Bring me your transaction records and customer registry. Yes, Sir Baradin. Hey. Didn't you hear him? Hustle. The teasing agents at the edge of the room scattered like ants. Despite there being over 10 volumes of the records and registry, it was all still just the tip of the iceberg. This is everything that is in the auction house, Sir Baradin. More important documents are in my residence's magic safe. As Alu's voice drifted off, he became self-conscious. May I go there myself and retrieve it? You only need to wait a little bit. Ha! Wait a little bit, my ass. Can't you see the situation you're in? Who are you trying to fool with that obvious trickery? If I send you alone to find the purchase history, do you plan on destroying all of the important documents and contacting your connections to find out whether I'm real and why I'm here? No, Sir Baradin. That is not my true intention. Alu knew that his plan was obvious, but he had to take his chances. Alu's ears flushed red, and he ducked his head only to see the edge of Jin's foot. Ha ha ha. Alu. It seems you know how to be embarrassed. Very well, go ahead. Go by yourself. Do whatever you can for the time being, and you'd still be in the palm of the Zipfuls. As soon as he heard that, Alu lost all hope. From his perspective, those were words that sprouted a chain of misunderstandings. He was not alone. I thought wrong. There must be Zipful magicians outside already. Jin smirked, knowing that Alu would dig his own grave by overthinking the whole situation. I have been mistaken. I will proceed with a supervisor of your choice, Sir Baradin. Piss off. Starting now, I expect wise decisions from you, Spider-Hand Alu. For the time being, I will be searching the storage. The hopelessness in Alu's face dissolved. If he acted upon Baradin's expectations, he could get out of this situation alive. It will take around 2 hours, Sir Baradin. You guys escort Sir Baradin to the storage room while I am absent. With a serious look on his face, Alu moved to exit the auction house. The only ones left inside were the teasing agents as well as Jin and his companions. The quick-witted agents approached Jin and immediately escorted him to the storage. There are many items from the boss's residence and summer house, but the teasing auction house has only one official storage room. This way, please. A snitch. As soon as the boss was about to crumble, the agent commented about the many items from the boss's residence and summer house to expose the crimes of embezzlement. If they all found out that he was bluffing, how would they react? Jin scoffed. It was his first time seeing the teasing underground auction house's storage room. It started one more floor beneath the auction house, and its entire structure had 3 levels. The first basement housed the slaves, below that was the second basement with shelves of magic tomes, and lastly, the third basement that was filled with artifacts. Jin and the others were surprised at seeing the storage being bigger and more organized than they had expected. The slaves didn't react to the sight of new people. Although they were not drugged yet to be presented on stage, they didn't exactly foster any hope either. I will be outside. Please call me anytime if you need assistance. As soon as the teasing guard left, Jet began to worry. I didn't know you were such an important person. A successor of the Zipful clan. Sir, please offer me a chance to display my loyalty. I will do anything. Good idea. Starting now, go find out about the birthplace and real name of each slave in the first basement. Afterwards, a clan member will come and take them away. Oh. Yes, I understand. I will proceed immediately. The Zipful clan explicitly prohibited slave trading. In reality, there were still many who engaged in these illicit activities, but they just needed to avoid getting caught. Also, underlings should have fun while working for their reward. So, kid. What are you gonna do? That Alu bastard will return after confirming that you're an imposter. Yeah, I know that. Outside the auction house, contrary to what Alu imagined, there were no Zipful magicians. He was walking on eggshells thinking that they were watching, but he would soon realize that it was all a hoax and contact acquaintances to confirm Baradin's identity. He would ask someone who knew of the appearance and whereabouts of Baradin Zipful. It was only a matter of time until Jin got busted. Why did you order Jet to survey the slaves when we are short on time? It's easy for us to escape, but he's dead meat anyway. No, the paper with the birthplace and name will save Jet. As long as we drop off the slave registry at the Zipful clan's residence and the Vermont Empire's press, the Teasing clan is doomed. Even if we're impersonators. If the public caught on to this, not even the Zipfuls could let this institution continue. The most elite magicians will be dispatched to save the slaves, wipe out the Teesings, and righteously rebuild the rotten Akin kingdom. This result was obvious because the clan's lowest-ranked members needed to prioritize the Zipful's reputation over the Teesing clan's bribe. The irony will force them to make a move. Jean planned on appointing Jet as the messenger. Then the Zipful clan would protect him as a witness. Of course, in this scenario, Jet would be stuck with the Zipfuls and the Empire's investigation team. But since he had strong survival instincts, he would only spit evidence that would be advantageous for him. For example, he would say something like, "There definitely wasn't an impersonator of Baradin in Akin, and I am only reporting this institution because I felt disillusioned from the slave trading done by the Teesings." Ultimately, Jean was not saving Jet because he was valuable, he was just being considerate of Jet's 2-year-old son. Under witness protection, Jet can scrap his shady backstreet life and peacefully live the rest of his life with his son in vast unknown lands. It wasn't a bad future for the father and son. When considering all the other possibilities, there was no better future than this one, not for Jet, but for the child. Because the pure and kind child would be following in his father's footsteps. Well, okay. Let's just say that part goes as planned. What next? Well, what do you think? Until Alu comes back, we get to shop for free and then leave. The Zipfuls will deal with our mess, so you go to the second basement to find useful magic tomes. Gilly and I will visit the third basement to find the artifact. Young master, will we be choosing to commit these reckless actions in the future? I can't believe you're doing this. I'll take that as a compliment, Gilly. Let's go. At the Lutero Magic Federation, artifacts are normally more valuable than standard magic tomes. Additionally, in an auction house like this, it was common to find ancient magic tomes, but finding a high-tier artifact was pretty rare. The third basement was no different from a trash dump. It was hard to believe that there was a hidden masterpiece between these useless artifacts that people wouldn't take even if given for free. The two didn't need much time to find the helm of the Demon King. Within the unruly mess in the corner of the room, they chose and opened the smallest chest. This is it. A low-quality silver ring with a ruby stone. As Jean suppressed his excitement and slipped on the ring, he could feel the energy flowing through his fingers. The mana, unlike normal mana, was formless. It was as if a dozen snakes wrapped around his finger, and the mana slowly entered his head. And Jean absorbed it all. Normal magicians would only think of this effect as an enhancement in magic. That's probably why this isn't considered a masterpiece right now. Now, Jean could use the magic he absorbed to summon a shadow. Black Helm whenever he wanted. If the user never utilized a powerful artifact or didn't have a strong feel for magic like Jean did, then the power was not immediately noticeable. Summon Helm. Whoosh. Jean tested out his new artifact, and black mana spread through the air. It formed lines and discs that slowly approached Jin's face. It didn't even take 1 second for the helm to form. The completed helm covered the entire face and neck, it had a hole for breathing and 2 others for the eyes. On each side of the helmet were 2 cool-looking sharp horns. Rather than being surprised, Gilly smiled at the sight of Jin's successful conjuring of the helm. I actually doubted if this would work out, but thankfully, we found it quick. Since they found the artifact, there was no need to stay in the third basement. Gilly, I think this place is filled with garbage. Let's just return to Murakan. Even I, an expert in magical artifacts, do not see anything in particular that catches my eye. Still, just in case, I shall take some ornamental artifacts that would make us good money. The Magic Tome basement had the same situation. Even though Murakan meticulously searched for Ohenserkes works, he couldn't find anything while Jet surveyed the slaves. Kiddo, since we already got Senmi's tome, there is no need to greed for more. Let's leave. It had been an hour since Alu left. When Jean, Murakan, and Gilly walked back upstairs into the auction house, the agents respectfully greeted them. Jet, you can go home now. Yes, sir. I will be waiting for you at the inn. Hee, please do not forget my service. Service, my ass. You were going to rat us out. Oh, please forget the past. Since I met Sir Baradin, I have been reborn as a new person. Jean flashed a sarcastic smile. Yeah. Let's just forget the past, shall we? Big shot of Akin Jet, lend me your ear for a moment. All right. As Jet offered his ear, Jean finally whispered. I am not Baradin Zipfel. So take your son and quickly escape this place. If you can, go to the Vermont Empire. I assure you, that is the only way for you to survive. To Jet, it had to be a jaw-dropping truth. Chapter 62. Teasing Underground Auction House, 5, you are listening at novelfull.audio. Wait, then who is that bastard? Is he part of the Vermont Special Forces, just like I guessed? Jet was hastily running with his son peacefully sleeping in his arms. Luckily, the child remained sound asleep until they arrived at the dock. Damn it, my life is ruined. I was gonna land a position as an accountant in Akin. His big dreams, everything he worked hard for, he had to leave them all behind. I didn't think that I would be running away. Even until the moment he boarded the ship, he doubted his life decisions based on the words of a child he didn't even know. Jet climbed into the starboard with a disappointed face and sifted through his pockets. He grabbed a heavy gold necklace, a ring, and a handful of tiny gold pieces. Keep this while you run away. Feed your son well. Those were the last words Jet heard from Jean. He couldn't understand the child's intent of helping after impersonating Baradin and manipulating Jet. Welp, I'll first get to Vermont and wait for the news. Jet was clearly depressed. ****** bang. The auction house's agents woke up to the sound of someone busting a door open. Alou furiously stomped in with heavy breaths. That scamming fucker, where is he? Ha! Boss, who do you mean? Baradin Zipfel. That bloody impersonator of Baradin Zipfel. Bring him to me right now. I will peel his skin and kill him. What do you mean by impersonator, boss? There's no way. All of the agents exchanged glances of cluelessness, as if uttering, did you know? The hell if I did. Boss, they already left. About an hour ago. Alou was going to go insane from their stupidity. Slap. Slap. He slapped each of his agents with his thick hand. You useless sons of bitches. You let that happen. You just let that happen. But boss, you got tricked as well. No one had the courage to point it out. Whenever Alou's eyes were in the back of his head, it was smarter to just stay silent. Boss, those guys. They took all of the customer registry and transaction records. They didn't take anything valuable from the basement though. Alou was about to explode. As much as he wanted to slaughter all of his workers, catching the impersonator was more important. Get ready to chase them down. We're catching those rat bastards before sunrise. *****. Meanwhile, Jean had already sent the anonymous letter to 3 places using postal magic. He sent it to the Vermont Imperial Family, Zipfel House, and the Akin Kingdom Press. If the anonymous note only said, teasing is bad, then the 3 organizations wouldn't bat an eye. However, Jean sent different pieces of evidence for each recipient. He sent the slave records to the Imperial Family, the transaction history to the Zipfels, and the customer registry to the press. The Vermont Imperial Family would take action after seeing that the majority of the slaves in the Teasing Underground were citizens of its empire. The Zipfels would get heated over all of the illegal transactions of valuable artifacts. Essentially, the Teasing clan is doomed. And of course, the Akin Kingdom Press would speak out after receiving the customer registry. Even though the press was under the Teesing's control, there were those who silently despised the clan's business. Now, the organizations just needed to read the information within 2 days. Then, the Teesing clan would be obliterated and forgotten forever. Despite the imminent downfall, Jean did not leave Akin. He and his companions were waiting for Alu at the outskirts of the kingdom. Jean needed to check if he has a connection with a Runcandle in any way. Kiddo, aren't you being too wary of Jet's words? You really think any of your siblings could get along with those lowly scums? I agree, young master. There's no way a Runcandle would meet such people. The Teesings themselves are not significant, but Alu is at least a 7-star. Thus, he is a man of significance. Jean didn't know anything from Alu's past aside from the fact that, at some point, he took control of the clan and corrupted Akin. Well, we should at least thank him before we leave. Other than Senmi's magic tome, he also gave us a great masterpiece. I was pretty surprised when you came out of the basement with that ring. According to Murakan, the ring artifact was not called the Helm of the Demon King, but instead was called Myulta's Rune. Thousands of years ago, the demons of Myulta created this artifact in order to protect one of their great leaders from the never-ending battles. And that great leader was the first emperor of Vermont. I honestly can't believe we found this in some sketchy basement. After everything is over, let's decipher and read through Tsenmi's magic tome. They waited for 2 hours. Some time later, a group of Teesing agents found the three sitting around a small fire. It's him. Report to the boss. Boom. An agent fired a signal firework. However, they couldn't blatantly attack the 3 targets. The impersonator was a child, but they remembered that he wielded at least 5-star magic. It was a weird standoff. Jean, who had no intention of running away, blankly stared at the agents, and the agents were waiting for reinforcements. Murakan. What? I want to duel Alu. You've gotta be kidding me. So, you're telling me to deal with all of the peons? Exactly. Man, what a hassle. While Murakan complained, Alu arrived. He was soaked with sweat from running hastily. Behind him were about 100 underlings who were also panting from exhaustion. The agents who were cautious of Jean became confident after the reinforcements' arrival. Why you, motherfucker? The hell are you guys doing? Get him. Wait here and guard our strawberry pie. Out of all the attacking agents, half of them were magicians, and the other half were mercenaries. The magicians started to cast their spells from afar, while the mercenaries charged at the enemy. Unlike them, Murakan was basically naked. He only wore a thin shirt and had a small dagger in his hand. Crack. Kirk. However, despite his lack of gear, Murakan cracked the first attacker's jaw with his elbow and dashed into the crowd of mercenaries. They weren't well trained, but they weren't unskilled either. In the middle of the crowd, every time Murakan threw a punch, someone either died or fainted. In the eyes of Alu and his bodyguards, Murakan looked like an invincible fighter. You fucking idiots. Attack the kid in the back, not him. The magicians changed their target after hearing Alu's screech. Jean scoffed at the sight of ineptitude. Fire. The lead magician shouted, and the magicians simultaneously raised their staves. Gilly, get behind me. Whoosh. They chose to fire the 3-star ice magic, icicle shot. 50 icicles aimed for Jean and flew towards him. However, I don't even need to block this. Thanks to demonic beast King Orgel's pendant, Jean was immune to any spells that are 5-stars or lower. Crackle. Crackle. The icicles disintegrated before they could reach Jean. The spells of Teesing's unregistered magicians were blocked with a blink of an eye. What are those guys? Ah. Oof. Murakan was already almost done with the peons. It didn't matter if there were 50 or 100, peons were peons. It was too easy for the shadow dragon. 5 minutes passed since the battle started. The Teasing mercenaries were losing their will for battle. But their devastating defeat against the ones who tricked the clan was not only because Jean and his companions were strong. After finding out that Jean was an impersonator, the agents of the Teasing's elite forces ran away. They predicted that Alu was done for. Until now, the Zipfuls had overlooked the Teasing's illegal activities. But after being tricked by the impersonator, they knew that the Teasing clan would inevitably fall. After sunrise, it was certain that the Zipfuls would take action, so their escape was a wise choice. At this point, Alu knew that his underground empire would soon fall. He. Alu cracked a pained smile as his sword emitted a white aura. It seems that you guys aren't just any normal scammers. Shick. Alu began to slash at his own magicians. They could not escape their crazy boss, so most of them immediately died on the spot. Boss, why are you doing TAACK? Alu slaughtered every single one of his minions with a straight face, living up to his Spider-Hand name. Who sent you guys? Who hired you in the first place? He spoke with bloodshot eyes. You guys were gonna go to hell anyways. I'm just alleviating the pain you would have felt. That's true, but, He's fast. Alu threw a dagger at Jean, barely missing his cheek. If Jean were a little slower, the dagger would have sliced his neck. But how unfortunate. I don't intend to go to hell alone. You guys are coming with me. This was just the beginning. There were 50 meters between Jean and Alu. Jean felt the goosebumps traversing his body. As expected from a 7-star knight. He had met countless 7-star knights, but this was the first time one tried to kill him. His throat dried from the pressure of the standoff. The moment he drew his sword. You finally met someone your size. I guess it is my turn to guard strawberry pie. Cuckoo, good luck. Murakan shouted at Jean as he ran away with Gilly on his back. Chapter 63. Teasing Underground Auction House, 6, you are listening at novelfull.audio. You dare dodge my dagger. Pretty impressive agility for a magician. Or maybe it was luck. Alu thought that Jean was a magician, probably because Jean showed off 5-star magic when he impersonated Baradin Zipful. Clang. Alu quickly closed the gap between them and swung his sword. His eyes widened, however, as Jean deflected it. So you weren't a magician. Bradamanti glowed with an overflowing aura. All Jean did was deflect Alu's attack, but it felt as if his bones rattled. Jean quickly backed off. As soon as he widened the gap, Alu closed the distance once more. He could read all of Jin's movements. This is getting pretty annoying. Slash. The following slashes ripped Jin's coat. Droplets of blood scattered into the air, but it wasn't a serious injury. He's fast. It probably isn't even his full power, but I'm already getting tired. The fight was proceeding as Alu planned. It was unbelievable that Alu was this strong. Jean barely had time to react to each attack, constantly being pushed back. At this point, Alu thought that the child was a knight. The spell he showed at the underground auction house was probably fake. Damn it, how could I fall for such a trick? He was pretty pissed at himself. Even though he knew his opponent was not Baradin Zipful, he controlled himself and attacked with composure. His enemy's rank was about 5-stars, but still, he couldn't assume anything. And yet, despite that knowledge, Alu was not concerned about Jean. He was more worried about Murakan, who was flashing a smile while watching them. I thought that guy was a minion. Why isn't he fighting? After destroying dozens of Alu's men, Murakan just proceeded to stop fighting altogether. Alu didn't know the guy's intentions, but he wanted to think about it after killing Jean. Murakan, on the other hand, enjoyed watching the young Runcandle struggle. I know you're pretty talented, but enough to challenge a 7-star. Yeah, right. I hope you learned something today, you audacious brat. Hee hee. Murakan smirked. Clang, clang. The clashing of Jin's and Alu's swords was music to his ears. Lord Murakan, are you not going to help? I understand that it was young master's orders, but he doesn't stand a chance against a 7-star. As Gilly said, Jin was barely staying alive. His dodges were on point, but his movements were definitely getting slower. It's alright, Strawberry Pie. That kid needs to know the value of life. That's true. And, my little Strawberry Pie, you think that kid will lose? What? Murakan smirked. It was fun watching Jin get constantly attacked, but Murakan already knew the outcome of the fight. For the magic swordsman of the Runcandle clan, speak of the devil. As soon as Murakan began his sentence, Alu quickly backed off from Jin. Whoosh! From Jin's hand came a pillar of flame. It was the 5-star fire spell, Flame Pillar. More fiery pillars blasted out from the ground. A 7-star knight is nothing. It was the first time Alu had backed off in a fight. His eyes widened. Magic swordsman. Alu tried his best to dodge or deflect the incoming flames, they were very difficult to extinguish. There's no chance to react. Shit, normal magicians needed some preparation time in order to fully cast a spell. One must gather up mana and then convert it into usable magic. However, it was different for those who were more talented. Jin could gather and convert mana simultaneously at a ridiculous speed. Additionally, because Jin was a dual caster, he could secretly prepare a spell without Alu's knowledge. My spells will be effective in this fight. Jin felt pretty confident. A high-level spell out of nowhere would scare anyone, even a 7-star like Alu. You 2-faced bitch. Alu shouted as he barely extinguished the fire off his clothes. Jin already prepared the same spell, but he knew that the same attack wouldn't work twice. I'll use this spell again to make him piss his pants, and then I'll finish him off shortly afterwards. It didn't matter how strong the opponent was. As long as he held a few tricks up his sleeve, the outcome of the battle would always be a 50-50. Win or lose. That was how Jin maintained a 50% win rate throughout his battles against opponents who were stronger than him. Or at least before the world finds out he was a magic swordsman. It was because he had mana and spirit energy. With only one spell using mana, Jin was able to scare the living daylights out of a 7-star knight. But if he also used his spirit energy. However, Jin did not intend to use it. Bzzzzzzzt. Next came a lightning spell. Jin conjured the spell he used on the moonlight fountain, and a bolt of lightning struck the location he selected, illuminating the night sky. Alu felt the imminent strike and quickly moved away, throwing his body to the side and releasing a volley of daggers after. Zoom. When a dagger brushed past Jin's shoulder, Alu thought that it was a chance to kill him. However, Jin already expected more attacks after the flying daggers. He knew that dagger users used that technique before landing a lethal blow. The moment Jin lowered his body to dodge the rest, Alu planned to close the distance and strike his throat. It was the perfect opportunity. It's over, Noel.n. For a split second, Alu's legs overflowed with energy. There was an explosion as he pushed off the ground, leaving a crater in his wake. His sword was aimed at Jin's neck. Whether it was by stabbing or beheading, Alu was sure that Jin would be dead. He never would have guessed that this entire situation was formulated by Jin. I'm sure he didn't notice that I became vulnerable too easily. On a normal occasion, Alu would have noticed this trick. He was a 7-star for a reason. However, he was desperate. Since it was his first time fighting a magic swordsman, he decided to end the fight as soon as possible. After all, the longer the fight, the more chances a magic swordsman had to attack their opponent with more spells. Alu's sword was about to slash Jin's throat. Gilly gulped. Murakan knew it was Jin's victory. Summon helm. Clang. The sword was supposed to smoothly slide through, but it was halted by something instead. It was because Jin activated his newly acquired artifact, Myulta's rune, to conjure a black helm. This was why every knight dreamt of owning Myulta's rune. It was the only helm that could completely nullify a 7-star night strike, the only one in the world. The helm deflected Alu's blade, causing the man to lose his balance. Jin took this opportunity. Slash. Bradamanti cut through Alu's shoulder. I guess it's over. Murakan shrugged. Gilly couldn't believe her eyes. Cool, he could have stabbed his heart, but Jin stopped his sword. Barely breathing, Alu fell to the ground, and he was able to postpone his death a little longer. Gurgle, gurgle. Jin stared at Alu, who had a mouth bubbling with blood. Let me ask one more thing before I leave. I heard you had ties with the Runcandles. Kukuku. Alu smirked and glared at Jin, as if he were saying, you're a Runcandle. Tell me. Name any Runcandle. Hey, hey. Kiddo. You got it all wrong. You should have pinned him down and then asked him. How is a dying guy gonna answer all your questions? Murakan walked towards Jin, shaking his head in disapproval. He was right, but Jin couldn't do anything about it. It was probably impossible for him to pin down a 7-star knight. I see. I get it. Jin, you bastard. Jin. Runcandle, I mean, the name Jean Grey is pretty common nowadays. I guess it doesn't matter for a guy who's about to die. 2. Alu coughed as he spat out blood. And yet, he was smirking. For a while, Alu breathed coarsely while smiling creepily. Then, he spoke. It doesn't matter. You can't stop him, what? Even though he failed back then, those were his last words. His eyelids lowered, and he no longer breathed. The fuck did he mean? Young master, are you alright? Murakan and Gilly spoke at the same time. Jin lightly nodded, still confused about Alu's final words. He failed back then, and I can't stop him. Of course, those were some words from a scummy thug. His words definitely implied some connection with a Runcandle, but they're not necessarily trustworthy words. But if this man had ties with a Runcandle, the failure he uttered would refer to bladed illusion, and the unstoppable entity would be. No way. One name popped up in his head. Runcandle's successor, Joshua Runcandle. Alu means that I can't stop him. The only person who I can't stop is the man who would lead the clan. The entire world knew that Joshua would be the next Runcandle patriarch. All of these realizations were still an assumption, but it was still unsettling. Spiderhand Alu. It probably isn't his real name. It was something he never thought of. Young master, why do you bring that up? I should find out. Because this guy seems to have ties with a Runcandle. It's also weird that a 7-star is running some sketchy side business. Kiddo, there are 9-stars who run a bar their entire lives. I've seen many like this corpse. One of your ancestors was like that. It's the clan I will soon lead. It'd be nice to clean up some old history. Well, let's go. We should look for more informative people like Jet. The three then left the capital city of Akin. Chapter 64. Senmi's Magic, 1, you are listening at novelfull.audio. Volume 3 Chapter 64, Senmi's Magic, 1, two men were frowning as they sat in a cramped room. They had been talking with Jet for the past few hours. So let me get this straight, Mr. Jet. You filled out this anonymous note for the prosperity of the citizens and the downfall of Akin. And you, who were mostly a lowly accountant, decided to betray your organization because you accidentally walked into the slave storage and was shocked by the atrocity. Moreover, among the documents you risked your life to take, there was also an accounting record of the magic tome auctions. And you thought it would be a way to collapse the Teasing clan from the inside, so you handed it over to the Zipful clan. And out of all of the different press media throughout Akin, you specifically chose the one that is against the Teasing's atrocities because you were interested in Akin's politics. Lastly, since you are a mere harmless reporter, you want us to protect you in order to stay safe from Teasing's surviving forces. Is that what you mean? Jet frantically nodded. Precisely. Man, I tried to do some good deeds in order to live out my life. I don't know why I'm being treated like this. Please let me go. I'm worried about my son. The two men let out a deep sigh. They were part of the Vermont Criminal Investigation Team. After receiving the letter about the Teasing clan's misdeeds, they caught Jet at the port and began an investigation. As Jean expected, Jet had a strong survival instinct. He listened to each word uttered by the investigators and responded with the most advantageous reply possible. Talking about the Baradin impersonator wouldn't help him in this situation. He had to sugarcoat everything as an act of goodness to gain witness protection. The investigators were baffled. No matter how I look at it, there's no way this bastard acted upon moral values. He just wrote his name on the letter. He didn't draft the entire thing. It's probably the shady people who destroyed the Teasings. However, we don't need to chase the culprits around. Instead of finding the true author of the letter, declaring the bastard in front of them as the righteous hero would be much more convenient. On top of that, apart from the initial letter, the handwriting from the slave records matched Jet's signature. At least he wrote the slave records himself to save the Vermont citizens. The investigators shrugged. Alright, Mr. Jet. Honestly, you kinda look like some lowly scum, but we'll turn a blind eye on your lies since you are saving dozens of Akin citizens. However, the Zipfuls have already requested your testimony, so you have to cooperate with us. The Zipfuls are searching for me. No way. If I go there, I'll die. Nothing will happen if you tell them what you told us. As long as your story stays consistent, the Vermont Criminal Investigation Team will keep you safe. Just go and tell them the story. If they hear something different from us, then it gets really annoying. You have some time before you go to the Zipful's investigation room, so go see your son and eat some food. An hour later, Jet followed the investigators to the investigation room. Ultimately, he didn't say a single thing about the Baradin impersonator, and the Zipful investigators couldn't kill him even though they knew that he was lying. Still, we can't make you a hero. The Zipful clan will take the credit for the downfall of the Teasings. I don't care, as long as you promise to keep me alive and protect me. I will hear the truth once I beat the crap out of the surviving Teasing agents. Leave. Also, don't think that the Vermont witness protection is perfect. The Teasing clan was demolished. Despite causing a ruckus, the three companions didn't even get a bounty on their heads. This wasn't the Zipful's business. The destruction was unfortunate for those who lived off of Teasing's dirty money. However, if the Zipfuls announced that they destroyed the Teasings, then they would gain more trust from the citizens of Akin. Either way, for the Zipfuls, the support gained from the people of a minuscule kingdom was equivalent to that of an ant. So the Zipful clan and Vermont imperial family would share the fame while you would rake in the true benefits. Indeed. Myulta's rune, Senmi's magic tome, and Shujil Hister's magic tome are now in our hands. Also, I got to fight a 7-star knight. Not all 7-stars are the same, young master. Please be more cautious in the future. A magic helm, magic, spirit energy, and swordsmanship. You're a great fighter. However, we can't always walk on a tightrope like this. Of course. No matter how hard I try, I can't stand against actual opponents like you can, Gilly. I already know that. Still, I'll be more careful. For a few days, the three spent their time in a remote village near Akin and observed the flow of events. With everything going as Jean predicted, Murakan and Gilly were astonished. Well, it looks like the Zipfuls wouldn't be searching for us. We can travel to our next destination without too much pressure. Where's our next stop? Jean already had a place in mind. The free city of Taiken. Taiken. After experiencing their journey through Akin, the three felt the importance of having an information broker like Jet. They needed someone to give them valuable information about the area as they continued on their journey based on Gilly's and Murakan's memories. Additionally, information about Vishikal Ivlianos, Kinzalos, and Alu's true names, the prohibited magic in the Kalin ruins, as well as other things. There were many things they wanted to know. Moreover, territories weren't some places one would just casually visit. Taiken, the free city, wasn't an exception. Once we get there, I should form relations with Ghostblade Kashmir. Even in the present world, there weren't many who knew of Ghostblade Kashmir. Many young Runkandal swordsmen begged him to be their teacher, but he always refused. The reason being that he had a valuable intelligence agency known as Seven-Colored Peacock. Excluding the intelligence agencies of the Runkandals, Zipfiels, and Vermont Imperial family, the Seven-Colored Peacock was the next best information source. It would be the most useful source during a time before the Runkandals rose to power. The agency was an incredible group of information brokers, but none knew that its leader was Kashmir. He was also known as the Fallen Prince of Vermont in the present world. To a regressor like Jean, it wasn't anything special, but the world was turned upside down when his status and identity were revealed. The 7 information brokers that formed the Seven-Colored Peacock were all loyal Vermont higher-ups. Along with Kashmir, they are a gathering of abandoned Vermont nobles. Jean didn't know the entire story, but he knew that the Seven-Colored Peacock consisted of many useful people. 10 years later, the fallen Prince Kashmir would become the first ruler of the free city of Taiken. Using the information that they gathered for decades, they would compromise sovereignty and the right to rule the land. They were beyond talented. Going to Taiken is easy. The problem is getting close to Kashmir. Deeply in thought, Jean smirked. A small country needs power. I'll lure Kashmir to me with the thing he wants most. The most stable way to strengthen a country is to enlarge its military force. This way, it can fight against invasions and build its infrastructure. However, after earning its independence, Taiken remained as a mere small country. Due to its small population, the military force is small. There wasn't a great abundance in resources, so it couldn't even advance its technologies. It was a country reliant on information. If he seems reasonable, I'll ask him about the mirror artifact at the Kalin ruins. Of course, Jean couldn't show Kashmir an artifact that he doesn't have, nor could he explain its abilities. Moreover, it all depended on Kashmir's aspirations for the army he had. Humans would naturally believe things they want to believe. Even if I obtain the mirror artifact, I don't intend to hand it to Kashmir. Though, I can share its healing effects. I'll show him my Ulta's rune and teach him the existence of these masterpieces. After that, I will slowly convince him to support me. Not only that, Jean also planned to break the rule of not using the clan's name as a provisional flag-bearer. He had to introduce himself as a Runkandal to at least make Kashmir bat an eye. Why are you laughing, kiddo? What kind of place is Taiken? Never heard of it in my generation. It's probably because of the information brokers, Lord Murakan. There is a massive intelligence agency called the Seven-Colored Peacock. As Gilly continued to explain, Murakan shook his head. You're choosing abusable scapegoats, just like we used Jet. Not bad. Is that why you were so excited? I was laughing because of the magic tome. By this time tomorrow, wouldn't the deciphering of Tesmi's magic tome be finished? I'm looking forward to it. Yeah, wondering about that Senmi guy's magic got my stomach in knots. Seems to be light-type magic, what? I said it's light-type magic. I remember that all light-type magic was forgotten after ancient times. Wait, Jean shook his head. He already heard a few times that Senmi was a magician of Muraken's era. Light magic. It was the dream of all magicians of the present. What the fuck happened? To think that Senmi's tome was being tossed around in a sketchy, run-down underground auction house. If I were Senmi, I would have crawled out of my grave. What kind of person was Senmi? Muraken smirked at Jean for a few seconds. 1500 years ago, around 500 renowned Zipful magicians plotted to assassinate Senmi. But they all failed. Which is probably why no one, including you, knows of Senmi. It was similar to how they wiped any records of the Runcandle's magic swordsmanship to a clean slate. The Zipful clan completely erased Senmi's existence from the history books. It's their specialty. They erase any threat to them from the history books. If you hadn't awakened your spiritual energy, you would have ended up the same as Senmi. Forgotten. Chapter 65. Senmi's Magic, 2, you are listening at novelfull.audio. Anyways, about that Senmi guy, Muraken continued to ramble on about Senmi. It was a story so long, it would take 1,000 years just to finish telling even its summarized version. Jin's eyes sparkled as he listened to Muraken, and Gilly softly lay her eyes on Jean. At times like this, it's as if he's still a child. And so, they left the village for the free city of Taiken. Although there was no bounty on them, they couldn't go back to the capital and use a transfer gate due to the ruckus they caused. Thus, they chose to ride a ship. After traveling on a carriage for a day, they arrived at a port and contracted with the best ship on dock. Being offered a large sum of jewels and gold, the captain prepared to set sail. I am honored to escort you. Crewmates were called out to deck, and they didn't complain at the sight of many precious minerals. It will take 1 week at most to get to Taiken. The boat departed within an hour. On the first day, Jean trained the release of his spiritual energy with the ocean wind blowing against his chest. If there wasn't anything to do, training was the way to go. The fun part would start after Senmi's magic tome got fully deciphered. I wondered what light magic Senmi practiced. And it looks like some magic you need the most. What is it? What is it? Jean, who was resting in his room, bolted to Muraken. It was hard for him to contain his excitement. Muraken explained Senmi's strange magic techniques as destructive spells that made even dragons quiver in fear during their era. Among the spells within the tome were one that decomposed an opponent into light particles, a piercing spell that penetrated any shield or force field, and a spell that summoned a spirit of light. There wasn't really a spell that was better than the others. Muraken laughed at Jin's excessive curiosity. Then, with a straight face, he spoke. Senmi called this spell Photon Cannon. Photon Cannon. The spell that breaks down the opponent into particles of light. Nah. It's just a spell that instantly blinds someone. With a strong flash of light, that is. Jean calmed down and nodded. He then considered the effectiveness of Photon Cannon. It wasn't what he wanted, but it was definitely useful in some scenarios. It's perfect as a distraction for attacking or escaping. Whoa, kiddo. You don't seem too disinterested. It's probably in the magic tome because it has good use. But I would be lying if I said I wasn't disappointed. Still, it's indeed a spell that I may need the most. Of course. It's easy to learn too. I deciphered it an hour ago and cast it as a test. Close the door for a sec. The curtains too. Seeing the darkness in the room during a bright afternoon felt bizarre. It doesn't necessarily need to be cast in the darkness, but it's a light spell. I'll demonstrate, so open your eyes wide and watch carefully. SSSSSSSSS, in Muraken's right hand, mana started to gather and solidify. Naturally, Jean was staring intently at the mana sphere, awaiting some bright result. However, the ball of energy was drowned in black. It's a light spell, So why is it blah? The moment he spoke, before the mana sphere dissipated and disappeared, there was a bright white light akin to hot, glowing steel. For a split second. The instant the light exploded, Jean reflexively flinched and let out a groan. Ugh! It was because of the blinding light that filled the room. It was as if he were staring at the sun during the highest noon. The light felt like a giant needle prodding his retinas. I feel like my eyes will get swollen. Photon cannon was unleashed for only a second, yet being exposed for such a short time was enough to make one's eyes very weary. Jean opened his eyes and saw an afterimage, a giant blob floating across his vision. He really wanted to give Murakan a nice uppercut for telling him to watch carefully, but the strength of the spell gave him goosebumps. Incredible. If he could cast this spell at will during a battle, fighting a stronger opponent wouldn't be a problem. Including the scenarios where he would need to escape, the spell was useful in terms of offense and defense. From my knowledge, I'm pretty sure this spell was Tsenmi's most prized spell. So, what do you think? It's incredible. In fact, your cast wasn't even 30% of its true power, right? Jean knew without an explanation, making Murakan proud. A shoddy demonstration right after deciphering. Additionally, Murakan said that it was easy to learn, so Jean could master the spell by the end of the boat ride. With your talent, you could master it in 2 days. If you absorb the magic tome for the rest of the trip, then by the time we get to Taiken, you'll have a god-tier weapon under your belt. Even if Jean finished mastering these unique spells, he would still need to absorb the magic tome to enhance his general skills and abilities. The process of absorbing a magic tome was simple. Jean just had to convert the cipher system into a rune and then cast the magic tome onto his body. I'm sure you'll make me deal with the rune conversion. Am I right, kiddo? How do you expect to repay me for that kind of debt? Jean immediately started to learn photon cannon. Murakan said it would take him 2 days, but mastering the theory of the spell didn't even require a day. It's the most incredible spell I've ever seen. Such a sophisticated and simple spell, yet so powerful. However, the spell was simple for a reason. Moreover, even though all of the magicians in the world attempted the simple spell, not many were able to use it. Photon cannon required insane levels of mana and mana control that only talented magicians had. Flash. Although the resulting light was not as brilliant as Murakan's shoddy demonstration, Jean understood the spell as soon as he tried it. He felt weak and dizzy, but he smiled in the light of success. The caster is not affected by the light coming from the spell. There was a big difference between the light emitted by the spell and the surrounding natural light. Jean could stare at the flash, but it still wouldn't affect his vision. Hey, kiddo. 4 days later, Murakan finished the rune conversion and asked Jean, should you'll hister or whatever's magic tome? I can't decipher it. I think it's just regular garbage. Wanna use it as kindling? Kindling. I'm just pissed. This stupid .as code's annoying me, the great Murakan. Jean was about to say that it was a code from his fond memories. But instead, he just smiled. I was originally gonna decipher it myself and use it. But I'll just find my teacher and have them teach it to me instead. Jin's master spent their entire life recovering the magic spells of Hister. Although it was a relationship in his past life, Jean always felt indebted to his teacher. I'm sure we'll find many great spells if we find a good decoder. I just feel it. So don't fuss over it, and just give it to Gilly. You little brat. You could burn my precious magazines any time, but this old book, speak some sense, oh great black dragon. If you're done with the rune conversion of Tsenmi's magic tome, just cast it on me. Murakan scoffed. Ha! Strawberry Pie and I were no different from slaves. Ever heard of a wicked master who got stabbed and killed by a slave? My bad. Unfortunately, growing up as a runcandle made me like this. Murakan began to cast the magic tome on Jin's back. The text in the magic tome began to glow and come off the pages. Murakan slowly moved the glowing text towards Jin's left shoulder blade, and the magic tome's text was printed onto Jin's back. It emitted an eerie glow, like a special tattoo. Damn, I wanted to cast it on your ass, or even your D. Enough with the unfunny jokes. Let's see what changed. As soon as the text sank into Jin's skin, his understanding of photon cannon increased rapidly. The absorption of Tsenmi's tome seemed to have stimulated his abilities. Photon cannon. Whoosh. L.C. The spell was cast, and the entire room was bathed in white. The ardent light pierced through the curtains and was seen on the deck. Thud, 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 thud. The captain, who was surprised by the light, rushed into the guest room. Sir, did anything happen? There was a light. Jin and Murakan looked at the captain and simultaneously denied. Light? What light? Ah, it's nothing. I presume you were hallucinating. The captain didn't need to know that they just practiced an ancient light spell. The boat arrived in the free city of Taiken on the 2nd of July, 1795. To show his appreciation for the satisfactory trip, Jin tipped the captain, then passed the city gates with his fake identification. When passing the gate, Murakan temporarily transformed into a cat. Meow. In Gilly's arms, Murakan shook his head. The atmosphere in Taiken and Akin are completely different, young master. Yeah, you can feel the energy and enthusiasm wherever we go. As opposed to its amazing scenery, Akin was filled with hopeless people. In Taiken, on the other hand, the ocean was always in view wherever they looked. It was because of the city's unique landform. The entire island had a single horn-shaped tower with 10 floors. Instead of Free City, calling it a tower was more fitting. It was a name that held the dreams of the initial founders. Young master, shall we first find a place to stay? Poof. Jin almost tripped and Murakan suddenly returned to his normal form and spoke. You won't just go to a ramshackle inn and abuse the hell out of the owner like last time, right? Murakan, you know how many people are here. Transforming in the middle of a city, although Taiken had a small population, the density was high. Transforming in the middle of the road was an easy way to lose anonymity. Gilly tried to add to Jin's scolding, but Murakan shook his head. Humans never pay attention to strangers. No one probably saw. They scouted the area, and it seemed like it was the case. Everybody walked with busy footsteps, and even in an open area, no one seemed to care about the three. However, it only seemed as if nobody cared. A cat turned into a man. Startled, Jin, Murakan, and Gilly turned their heads towards the voice. How did you do that? While holding a small dragon plushie, a small girl stared at them. Chapter 66. Ghostblade Kashmir, 1, you are listening at novelfull.audio. How is it? It's good, sir. I'm not that old, being called sir at the age of 15 was harsh. Sir is right. Jin cracked an awkward smile and shrugged. They bought some ice cream for the girl with the dragon plushie. Although watching her happily eat the cold treat was cute. How the hell do we deal with her? While evaluating the situation, Murakan got tense and clenched his fist. Gilly was furious, her expression cold as stone. Whenever the little girl looked at her, however, she flashed a bright smile. Thankfully, it was only a little girl who witnessed Murakan's transformation. Thank goodness. What if it was a group of adults and not a little kid? The Zipfuls would have put a bounty on me immediately. Murakan learned from this experience. Indeed, humans often didn't care about others' businesses, but he promised to be careful when transforming. Jin sighed as he stared at a hunched over Murakan who was racked with guilt. Damn. As bad as it is for us, it's worse for him. After all, he was a grand black dragon who didn't need to care about people's gazes. It had been 5 years since he broke out of the glass coffin in the Storm Castle's underground chamber. Muraken's emotions hadn't changed even from before his slumber 1,000 years ago. Although he wanted to cause mass destruction, he patiently held in his urges and matched the behavior Jean expected of him. Excluding the several rowdy moments at the Storm Castle and Garden of Swords, the Shadow Dragon suppressed his emotions well. If I think about it like that, I kinda feel sorry. Jean bought more ice cream and gave it to Muraken. Without a word, Muraken received the treat and smiled. Gilly exploded into laughter. Oblivious to what was happening, the little girl grinned. Then is that guy not a cat? Yeah, I guess Yuria is seeing things. Yuria isn't seeing things. That guy is cat. You are not cat. Huh, you like cats. Jean and his companions were sitting on a bench, watching the cute kid eat ice cream. Her name was Yuria. Yuria, do you know the way home? No, Yuria don't know. They listened to her story and concluded that her parents lost her in the crowd, and she encountered Jean while wandering the streets. So, the three decided to find the child's parents. They didn't have any immediate objectives anyways. 20 minutes passed, and the child's parents never showed up. Young master, shouldn't we take her over to the guards at a nearby garrison? Technically, we aren't obliged to solve this problem. That would be good. Did you finish your ICRE? As soon as she heard guards, Yuria frowned. I don't like there. Make mommy tired. The garrison makes your mother tired. Yeah, that place make mommy very tired. At that moment, a million thoughts went through their heads. Is she being exploited? Is her mother a criminal? There weren't many interpretations of the girl's words. After a bit of thinking, they still agreed that taking her to the guards was the best conclusion. Yuria pouted then accepted her fate. What a nice child, young master. There was a time when young master was also. Never mind. Haha. Finding the way to the garrison wasn't hard. Living up to its name, the Free City did not have anyone who was scared of outsiders. The garrison looked immaculate, with the Free City of Taiken Central Defense Force written neatly on the white walls. Jean liked the presence of a central defense force. Whatever issue existed, dealing with problems at a big organization was easier. Taiken Central Defense Force. How may we help you? Oh, this child, it's Yuria. Hey, guys, bring the chief. Do you know this girl? More than just know. She's the chief's daughter. Yuria, who apparently hated the garrison, was being treated like a princess. So that's what she meant when she said the garrison made her mother tired. The three of them smiled simultaneously. Hey, kid. You dare fool the great Muraken. I didn't fool you, cat man. I said I wasn't a cat. Clomp, clomp. A tall woman walked towards them. She looked at least 2 meters tall with broad shoulders and had a knife scar on her left eye. It wouldn't be a surprise if she operated several dark organizations like Teasing, but she was wearing a military uniform. It was hard to miss the flashy chief badge. The woman embraced Yuria before picking her up. Yuria. My bad, my bad. Mom remembered she had some work to do, so I rushed back and accidentally forgot about you. It's okay. Of course it's okay. The people in this city know that if they mess with you, they'll go to the sky world. Or they'll never see the sky again. She was throwing violent jokes in front of a 5-year-old, but the words were filled with love and affection. The three spectators were at a loss for words. You guys brought Yuria. My apologies. I am Taiken's chief of defense, Elisa Betzer. They exchanged handshakes. Tourists, I see. It seems that I was a little careless since I knew that the citizens knew Yuria well. No. It's fine. It's a relief that she's your daughter. We were worried that it would take longer to find her parents. Oh, it seems that you also ate some ice cream. Yuria, make sure to thank them. Good girl. Anyways, thank you very much. How may I return the favor? If there are any good inns nearby, it would be great if you could recommend some. We just arrived. Oh, a place to stay. Hold on. Yuria, what did you say? Whispers. Elisa bent over and lent her ear to Yuria, who then began to whisper. Elisa thought for a moment, wrote something on a piece of paper, stamped it, and handed it to Jean. It was a simple letter. It's an introductory letter with the Chief of Defense's seal. Wherever you go, if you show them this pass, then you will be treated with the utmost respect. The provided food will change as well. That's amazing. It will be of good use. We shall leave now. The three left the building, and Elisa shrugged her shoulders. Yuria, you really saw a cat turn into that man. But they didn't want to share it. So I guess they didn't tell you. Elisa patted Yuria's head. Alright, everyone has their secrets. And then she thought. Transformation. Only dragons can do that. And there's no way Yuria is lying. I must ask Kashmir. The power of Taikon's Chief of Defense's pass was beyond their expectations. Jean chose the most luxurious inn in the outskirts of the city. When he showed the pass to the receptionist, employees were summoned to escort them, and all kinds of services were discounted. On top of that, they were offered the most luxurious room without a reservation. Jean, Murakan, and Gilly were finally able to rest comfortably. Wow! We've only experienced this kind of treatment in Huphester. Isn't nepotism great? The cushioned bed is great, kiddo. Our living space needs to be more like this. Our place in Akin was a pain in the ass. I have a good feeling about this place, seeing the great fortune we got as soon as we came. Oh my, the cocktails and sautéed shrimp are delicious. Young master, have a taste. Can we order some more? My goodness, Gilly. No need to ask. Just order more. Their visit felt like a vacation trip. This is new. The three have been together since their days at the Storm Castle, but it was their first time experiencing this kind of hospitality. Gilly seemed to be especially happy, for she was constantly singing and humming a tune. Seeing her indulge in the lavish goods, Jean felt pity. She likes this stuff so much. As soon as she became a fair lady, she got stuck with me. No time to play, no time for herself. He wouldn't have made Gilly go through this in his past life. In fact, he wouldn't make anybody in the clan experience this kind of abject deprivation. Even if they weren't pure-blood runcandles. Was this lifestyle truly for Gilly? Was it righteous to let her live her life from here? For a moment, he considered letting Gilly go. Gilly. Yes, young master. Have you ever regretted accompanying me? Gilly halted her humming and movements and stared at Jean. She knew exactly why he posed this question. Not once in my life. This kind of joy is meaningless if not spent with you, young master. Oh, including Lord Murakan. Though, he is definitely annoying at times. On that note, let me ask you, Strawberry Pie. Why do you remain stuck to the runcandles? You don't seek treasures like that Emma person, nor do you want political power. Jean was thankful that Murakan joined the conversation. He didn't know how to respond to Gilly's heartwarming response. Did I catch on to something? Or do you feel indebted to the clan for life? Your dedication definitely has some ulterior motive. May I share regarding this topic at a later time? When are you gonna tell us, huh? Strawberry Pie. When I become old and senile, perhaps. That's not too far in the future. I can wait until then, but you'll have to tell us why. Gilly meant that response as a joke, but Murakan took her seriously. Realistically speaking, a few decades of her life was nothing to Murakan. I guess I'll order some more shrimp. Once Gilly left the room, Murakan called Jean over. Hey, kid. What? It's a blessed life. Agreed. Not long after leaving, Gilly returned to their quarters. However, her startled face didn't look as if she had ordered more shrimps. Young master, Lord Murakan, something's not right. There's not a single person in sight in the lobby. What? Employees, and guests included, all seem to have cleared the building. Something, clunk, clunk, clunk. At that moment, dozens of footsteps resounded from the hallway, approaching their vicinity. It was definitely the sound of marching soldiers equipped with steel boots. The stomping stopped at their door. Then, a more quiet pair of footsteps approached it. A man entered the open door. Murakan was clueless about the man's identity, but their visitor was a famous swordsman that Jean and Gilly knew. Hello there. It was Ghostblade Kashmir. Chapter 67. Ghostblade Kashmir, 2, you are listening at novelfull.audio. Meeting Kashmir was their main objective for coming to Taiken. However, they struggled to find a way to meet him. But to think that he would come straight to their doorstep. Quite the unexpected turn of events. What's this? Naturally, Jean stepped in front of Gilly and Murakan. Kashmir leaned on the doorway and shrugged his shoulders. It was hard to miss the scimitar on his waist. It was a curved blade that slaughtered hundreds of strong opponents before its owner was given the name Ghost Blade. Oh my! Did I disturb your peaceful break? Murakan, who was amused by the situation, smirked. Jean thought about why Kashmir came to them. There's no way he knows about our business in Akin. It seems the chief of defense leaked our general location, and the inn owner saw our pass and contacted her. But why? They just arrived in Taiken and have only been in the city for a grand total of 2 hours. They didn't do anything in particular, just spent some quality quiet time. There was no reason for Kashmir to be interested in them. Then he remembered their encounter with Yuria. Unless. What if Yuria told Elisa about Murakan's transformation, and knowing that transformation is an ability only dragons have, Elisa reported it to Kashmir. Certain of the possibility, Jean began to formulate the scenarios in his head. If he was convinced by a 5-year-old who witnessed it and believes that we are dragons, it means that he's desperate. As a close acquaintance, the chief of defense probably knows this as well. It didn't seem like a horrible situation, though. The armored knights outside don't seem to intend to threaten us. They were brought to prepare for a possible fight against a dragon. If not, there's no reason to keep them outside. They would have come into the room if they wanted to scare us. Jean realized that Kashmir evacuated the people inside the inn for the same reason. Probably evacuated not only the inn, but the surrounding area as well. Causing a dragon's rage because of this encounter would devastate the vicinity. It didn't even take a few seconds to evaluate the situation. Their short stay in Taiken easily narrowed down all of the possibilities. At this point, Jean thought he could safely approach Kashmir. In addition to not knowing that Murakan was the dragon, he mobilized the troops outside and evacuated everyone. His preparation was immaculate. However, he made one small mistake. Oh my ass. You bitch. You talking like that to me? Do you know who I am? What, so fucking annoying. You think the world is so easy just because you have a cool weapon on your ass and some goons to drag around. Kashmir didn't greet them, more specifically, Murakan, respectfully. Murakan continued to spit swears and curses, and Kashmir was startled. It was a widely known fact that dragons didn't have the greatest personalities. Kashmir should have known this, but he just nonchalantly greeted Murakan anyways. Though he was the fallen prince, was his attitude because he had been part of the Vermont imperial family. Regardless, Murakan was on the nicer side amongst the nasty dragons. Who do you think you are, messing up the nice mood? I'm asking you, you mongrel. Do you know who I am? Answer me. I don't know. Cashimir's handsome profile was ruined as he answered Murakan. He seemed to be very shocked. At that moment, he was certain that Murakan was the dragon. Otherwise, he wouldn't stand still like a scarecrow after being brutally humiliated. Oh, is there a lump of gold stuck in your throat? You're still not talking, you dumbass dog. Come here. Get your ass over here. People like you need a nice beating to get into the right mind. Despite telling Kashimir to come to him, Murakan stomped towards the other man. Kashimir shivered in fear as he slowly backed away. Jean wanted to laugh at the sight. Murakan, calm down. Relax. Don't worry about it. Jean softly stopped Murakan. The dragon then stood still, eyes fixed on Kashimir. He would have spun the other's jaw multiple times if he hadn't been stopped. There were 3 reasons why Murakan was pissed. The biggest reason was because he made his poor strawberry pie feel threatened, and then it was a split between him disturbing their peace and lacking respect. Barely catching his breath, Kashimir cleared his throat. Ahem. My apologies. It seems I was insolent. I did not intend to aggravate you, so please, I humbly request your forgiveness. Sir Ghostblade Kashimir. Pardon me, but you know who I am. How would I not? I've been wanting to meet the glorious ruler of Taiken. Jin's demeanor was much calmer than Murakan's. Kashimir cleared his mind and avoided Murakan's gaze. I didn't know that you would suddenly visit like this. Maybe because of a certain cat. Hearing this, Kashimir regained his composure and the sharpness in his eyes. He overcame his trauma when he remembered what he originally came for. And your name is? It's Jean Runcandle. Without hesitation, he said his real name. Gilly, who stood behind him, covered her mouth. Murakan was also slightly surprised. Someone identifying as a Runcandle heir was an occasion out of their control, but revealing his own identity should have been avoided at all costs. Of course, the one who was surprised the most was Kashimir. If you had attended the banquet not so long ago, then I'm sure we would have met beforehand. It is a pleasure to meet you, Sir Kashimir. Kashimir slightly smiled. So he's Jean Runcandle. After revealing that man as the dragon, the boy just reveals himself. Was there even a case where the Runcandles and dragons got along? According to his knowledge, it was impossible. Since ancient times, dragons only formed relations with magicians who either contracted with gods or have special abilities. That frivolous man is the dragon. His speech and tone was like a back-alley thug, but the momentary pressure and threat he gave off was immense. Analyzing the crew in front of him, Kashimir naturally turned his eyes towards Gilly. And isn't that woman Gilly McRowland? Before being deemed the fallen prince, he had seen some of the McRowlands at the Vermont Imperial Palace. Although he didn't remember Gilly precisely, he had a vivid memory of a young Gilly displaying a claw's potent power at a training academy. And there was no doubt about it. The boy in front of him was a Runcandle. Though, he couldn't understand why Jean was being accompanied by a dragon. It's a long story. Sir Kashimir, please take a seat. Kashimir ordered the soldiers to clear the area. In his position, it was a dangerous move, but he acted out of pacifism to gain the favor of the dragon. Murakan, however, was still annoyed. Respecting Jin's decision, Gilly set 3 goblets on the table. Murakan was forced to follow the kid's agenda. Glug, glug. Jean poured some wine into Kashimir's goblet. Young Master Jean, does your clan know of your whereabouts with a dragon? I've never thought of a Runcandle and a dragon working together. The clan does not know. You're telling me a risky secret like it's nothing. Because you just sent your soldiers away. If things don't go as I planned, and depending on the outcome of this conversation, we can just get rid of you. Kashmir assumed that Jean was joking and awkwardly laughed. I guess we didn't give Yuria enough ice cream. If we knew this would happen, we would have bought her better stuff. I guess Sir Kashmir and Elisa really trust Yuria. Seeing that you acted upon the child's seemingly fake story, and since young Master Jean shared a clandestine secret, I will share one as well. Yuria is my daughter. There is no reason for me not to trust her. Kashmir looked robust, but he definitely was lacking compared to Elisa. However, picturing the two next to each other, they do look nice together. No, that's not important right now. Jean nodded and continued to speak. I have never heard news of Sir Kashmir having a daughter. As if that information wasn't enough, Kashmir added to his words. And my daughter contracted with AZ Mill. By AZ Mill, you mean, yes, the god of sight, AZ Mill. Jean finally understood why Kashmir and Elisa trusted Yuria's absurd story. Anyone who contracted with the god of sight would never be seeing things. There was no such thing as hallucinations for them. I think my secret is of equivalent weight to yours. My daughter contracted with AZ Mill. Revealing such truth required a great sum of courage. AZ Mill's contractor not only gained the absolute eye that enables them to see the truth behind everything, but also the all-seeing eye which allows them to see a vision of the future. All of the rulers and leaders in the world searched for the one who contracted with AZ Mill with the hopes and greed of avoiding the uncertainty of the future. Which is why most of AZ Mill's contractors were abused and taken advantage of, living the rest of their life in misery. Especially with the extremity of the Zipfels and the Vermont imperial family's actions. Everyone knew that they wanted to keep the contractor by their side, by all means. Wait, you mongrel. If that kid is AZ's contractor, then where's the dragon? I didn't sense any presence of a dragon in this city. It's well known that AZ's dragons take really good care of the contractors. Engaged in the conversation, Murakan sat in a chair, which settled the mood. Combining the dragon's words with the image of Yuria holding onto a dragon doll, Jean finally deduced why Kashmir came to them. For some reason, the dragon disappeared. That's why he urgently came here after hearing of another dragon's presence. Kashmir's face dimmed. Yuria's guardian dragon suddenly disappeared about a year ago. I think that either the Vermont imperial family or the Zipfels are at fault, but it's just a hunch. What kind of stupid dragon would get kidnapped just like that? At least speak some sense. Murakan paused, then his eyes widened. Wait, it's been a year. And your daughter is 5. Indeed. Kashmir dropped his head, holding a hopeless and melancholic expression as he thought of the day he lost his friend and creating a doll for his daughter to commemorate them. But right now, losing an acquaintance was the least of Kashmir's concerns. Then that means your daughter is constantly looking into the future. A young contractor can't control their abilities without their dragon. Holy shit, she probably saw my transformation from a vision. Pardon. Yuria is constantly looking into the future. A measly human like you wouldn't understand. Witnessing the future inflicts so much mental strain, even for a dragon. Right now, your daughter is so young. She can't differentiate between fantasy and reality. What do you, at this rate, your daughter will go crazy and become bedridden forever. After 1 or 2 years, she will slowly feel exhausted, and it just snowballs from there. It becomes impossible to stop. We must find that dragon. Chapter 68. Ghostblade Kashmir, 3, you are listening at novelfull.audio. Kashmir's eyes went bloodshot. Anyone would get shocked after hearing that their daughter would become bedridden for life. Murakan, what do you mean by that? That kid will become bedridden. Elaborate. Jin's chest felt heavy. He felt his stomach sink at the thought of a horrible fate for a small, innocent child. You humans think that clairvoyance is miraculous and extraordinary, but that is only one side of the coin. The moment you make a contract with AZ Mill, you lose the ability to change the future. Murakami continued to explain the causation principle. If one sees the future, they must follow it. No matter what. When you begin to act against it, AZ Mill will begin to condemn you. Even though they want to alter their actions, thought processes, or decisions based upon the future, AZ Mill's contractors must abide by their fate. Thus, even if they see in the future that their brother was going to get assassinated, they must not tell him or go stop the assassination. Since everyone in the room deduced the near future, the causation principle applied to them as well. However, even though they try to change the future, AZ Mill punishes the contractor regardless. If they disobey the causation principle, the contractor will receive death as their punishment. Your daughter has been living in a different world than you and me. She's basically living a pre-planned life. I can't believe it. I've never heard of that before. Of course not. It isn't well known even amongst the dragons. Then about Uria's discovery of your transformation. If she was destined to meet you, what does that mean? That it was from a prophecy. What are the chances of meeting AZ Mill's contractor in a big city like this? AZ Mill probably set us up to offer the helpless girl some assistance because she lost her dragon. Essentially, AZ Mill is requesting help. A god is asking some humans for a favor. For a dragon and 2 humans, that is. I can't exactly pinpoint AZ Mill's intentions of intervention, but I'm probably right. A coincidental encounter seems very improbable. Kashmir, speechless, shook his head, and Jean thought about the little girl. The all-seeing eye that could see into the future, and the absolute eye that could see the truth behind everything in the world. Calling me, sir. Did she see me before I regressed? Now that he thought about the possibility, goosebumps crawled all over Jin's body. Either way, we need to find the dragon and return it to her side. O great dragon, it is not known to the world, but I am the leader of the information broker agency, 7-Colored Peacock. We have many skillful workers, but for the past year, we did not find any news about Uria's guardian dragon. The 7-Colored Peacock is yours. I can see why AZ Mill is messing with our world. We came to Tychon to use the 7-Colored Peacock's information anyways. To Kashmir, Murakami's words were like a beam of light through a cloudy sky. Instead of just requesting for uncompensated help from a dragon, he could offer his services to successfully seal the deal. Thump. Kashmir fell to his knees and lowered his head. O great dragon, I humbly beg for your assistance. I will do anything for my daughter. I would even offer you the entirety of the 7-Colored Peacock. Normally, Kashmir was a very composed man. Although he was kicked out, as a former member of the Vermont imperial family, his sense of pride and self-esteem were very strong. However, this was a situation in which his daughter's life was on the line. Although they were not backed with any evidence, Kashmir didn't doubt a single word uttered by the dragon, desperation filling his senses. After all, he was in the presence of a dragon and a run candle, they would not lie as it would soil their name. Surprised, Gilly blinked, and Jin's eyes widened. I want to help out, but I don't make the final decision. Pardon. You have to ask this kid. Whatever we do, it's this little fella that decides everything. So, what are we gonna do, kiddo? Normally, a dragon and its god's contractor usually have a somewhat equivalent relationship, but the contractor does have command over the dragon. Essentially, the dragon has a sense of independence. No matter how close the dragon is to the contractor, the dragon does not forget its principles. Kashmir knew of this principle, and from it, he realized that Jean wasn't just any run candle. Please offer your assistance, young Master Jean. Please stand up, Sir Kashmir. Though we've only just met, the life of a child is on the line. Accepting the request is not a problem. Jean helped Kashmir onto his feet. The man's eyes were filled with tears. Jean could feel his anxiety and frustration. Sir Kashmir, I understand that you are nervous, but let us keep our calm. Starting today, we'll look for Uria's guardian dragon. There has to be a way to find it. I will be forever indebted, young master. The encounter proceeded very smoothly. Jean didn't even need to reveal his masterpiece of an artifact, nor did he have the need to access the fountain of mana that he didn't even have. They could cooperate with Kashmir and the seven-colored peacock. But it wasn't a joyful turn of events. Nobody would find joy in a quest with a little girl's life on the line. If the seven-colored peacock doesn't have anything, then we have to rely on the Runcandles or the Zipful's intelligence. But since he was on a mission to become a provisional flag-bearer, he could not ask for help from his clan. In his current situation, he wanted to break some rules, but they wouldn't help him in any way. Sir Kashmir. You said that you suspect the Zipfuls or Vermont imperial family of kidnapping Uria's guardian dragon. What did you mean by that? You said that it was simply a gut feeling. If the dragon died, then Uriah would know, no matter what. Only the Zipful clan and Vermont imperial family are capable of kidnapping a dragon without a trace. He wasn't wrong. Many different types of magic are needed to kidnap a dragon. For an infantry and swordsmanship-based clan like the Runcandles, committing such a crime was not impossible, but it would leave evidence of battle. The suspected date of disappearance was August 2, 1794. According to my workers' research, the Zipfuls and Vermont's strongest magicians left their posts that day. The Zipful clan and the Vermont imperial family, if it's those two, whether they conclude by intuition or with the use of evidence, rescuing the dragon wouldn't be easy. Not even difficult, it would be impossible. Along with the Runcandles, the Zipfuls and Vermont imperial family made up the three strongest families, and amongst them, the Zipful clan was on top. I already kind of gave up rescuing my daughter's guardian dragon. And if you hadn't told me that her life was on the line, I would have given up indefinitely. Do not fret. It's also my first time learning about the fate of AZ Mills contractors. Correct, mortal. Self-blame won't solve anything. The Zipfuls and an empire. Hey, kid. Is the Free City of Tychon part of the Lutero Magic Federation? No, Tychon is a city-state, just like Mummet. It's not exactly a country of some sort or a part of anything else. However, one key difference between Tychon and Mummet was that Tychon had vast lands. The Zipfuls and Vermont imperial family, some other kingdoms and the Runcandles as well, of course, wanted their hands on Tychon's land. Additionally, the Vermont imperial family found the fallen prince's easily earned freedom very annoying as well. Establishing a city amongst many land-hungry empires after 10 strenuous years, Kashmir and the seven-colored peacock's ability to compromise was incredible. Even though he could raise a city, he couldn't save his own daughter, because the citizens themselves weren't aware that the ruler of the free city of Tychon, Kashmir, had a daughter. Additionally, if news ever got into the limelight, rescuing Uriah could largely impact the course of history. Then, I can just transform here, right? Why's that? Gonna fly to the Vermont Empire and ask some other dragons. Most of the dragons over at the Zipfuls are my enemy, so I can't ask them. Almost 80% of the existing dragons were affiliated with the Zipful clan. Most of the remaining 20% were under the Vermont imperial family, and the rest, a very small portion, was associated with smaller clans or unknown contractors. You can't just fly into the Vermont Empire because of their barrier. Getting another fake identification and passing through a transfer gate would be much easier. Barriers don't matter. If I emit a ton of energy while flying, then a few goons would notice me. So I'm going somewhere I won't be detected. What? How? I may have just awoken from a 1,000-year slumber, but when I was in my prime, there were many who were indebted to me, you know. Hopefully, I'll find one of my fellas in the outskirts of the empire. If not, it's whatever. Dragons often remained active for more than thousands of years. As long as a god constantly renewed contracts, it was possible. "Oh Dragon Lord!" Having thought of something, Kashmir exclaimed. "Hey, just call me by my name. Don't keep calling me like that. It's embarrassing. Am I some kind of cult leader?" "Sir Murakan. Before you leave, I can offer you an archive of the Vermont imperial family's dragons. It is something that agents of the Seven-Colored Peacock are already investigating." "Oh, really? Then rush over there and bring it to me. I'm really looking forward to our partnership. Let's hope I see a familiar name." "Yes, sir. Please wait a moment." Hey, wait." Murakan stopped Kashmir at the door. "Before you leave, I'll tell you two things. First, starting today, your daughter will spend tiring hours. Every single day, make her play until the sun sets. Whenever she's awake, make her constantly waste time. So then she falls fast asleep. How long will she need to do this? Until we find her guardian dragon. Get a clown or entertainer or something. You have to entertain her out of her mind. Whenever she gets tired, Mill's powers naturally become weaker. The weaker the power, the safer Yuria will be. Then there will be a higher chance she won't see her future and will not need to live by it. Although she was at an age where she could not distinguish between the present and future as well as fantasy and reality, if she sees her shocking future, then her actions will be influenced. And once she reaches that point, she will be in grave danger. However, it is possible that she could interpret the future as just one of her dreams. Oh. Feed her sleeping pills, or you can cast a sleeping spell on her. But I presume you wouldn't like that. I don't like it either. Neither does the kid or strawberry pie or your wife, even your child herself. Right. Understood. I will try my best to tire her through joy and entertainment. And the second. Recall the inn's chefs that you evacuated and tell them to make a lot of shrimp dishes. A substantial amount. Kashmir nodded and rushed out the door. Gilly walked over to Murakan. "Lord Murakan, that was very nice of you." "Huh, strawberry pie, I remembered that you couldn't get the shrimp dishes that you wanted." "No, not that. I meant when you calmly communicated with Sir Kashmir in order to alleviate his anxiety." Embarrassed, Murakan awkwardly looked away and coughed. "His feelings don't mean anything to me anyway." Chapter 69. Intertwining Fates, 1, you are listening at novelfull.audio. Amongst the dragons currently affiliated with the Vermont imperial family, the Seven-Colored Peacock could identify 6. Earth Dragon Labus. Earth Dragon Vertega. Earth Dragon Until. Golden Dragon Ziv. Azure Dragon Madurai. Silver Dragon Quicantle. After learning of their identities, Murakan let out a sigh. Ha, these guys are still active. Before he regressed, Jean had information on the 3 Earth Dragons as well as the Azure and Golden Dragons being affiliated with the Vermont imperial family. However, he didn't expect the Silver Dragon Quicantle to be included. Were there people who contracted with the God of Time? Only a contractor with the God of Time can be blessed with the presence of a silver dragon. It was similar to how Fire Dragon Cadden accompanied Keliark Zipfel, contractor of the God of Flames, Wind Dragon Violetta guarded Andre Zipfel, contractor of the God of Wind, and Black Dragon Murakan protected Jean, contractor of the God of Shadows. In his past life, Jean was 26 when he heard about a magician who contracted with the God of Time, Ulta. At the time, it had been at least half a century since anyone worthy of being Ulta's contractor had been born, and it caused an uproar throughout the world. If what I heard was true, then it means that something nasty happened. And indeed, something nasty had happened. According to his memory, the contractor was a pureblood Zipfel. And a pureblood Zipfel would not be working as a magician at the Vermont Empire. Jean tried to tell Murakan this information, but the dragon opened his mouth first. And Quicantle. Does Olta's contractor reside in the Vermont Empire? Hey, twerp. You sure this info's accurate? Yes, Murakan, sir. The world does not know that Olta's contractor is with the Vermont Imperial family. Which magician clan is Quickantle's contractor from? Let me think about Olta's favorite clans. Lafun. Kainal. Oh, that. It's a commoner named Enya. Apparently, she's a talented scholar at the Vermont Magic Academy. In fact, she's still attending school. A commoner. The pure.royal.blood.loving Olta contracted with her. I guess talent doesn't lie. Anyways, that's pretty funny. I can just ask Quickantle regarding the whereabouts of AZ Mill's guardian dragon. Jean was confused by commoner and talented scholar. I've never heard of the name Enya. If she was able to contract with Olta, then she potentially possesses incredible power. And since she's a student, she's about the same age or slightly older. Aside from Sodaret, the other gods worshipped by magicians were the god of flames Shinu, and the god of time Olta. Despite that, why didn't Enya become a famous magician? And, according to Jin's memory, why did Olta's contractor only appear half a century later? There was no need to think hard. Zipful magicians probably got rid of Enya and formed another contract. Although he didn't have any evidence or even something as simple as a hunch, he was certain of it. Getting rid of a commoner student in a calm suburb was as easy as breathing for them. But there was no way to form another contract. Nobody knew if it was even possible, but if it were the Zipfuls, they would have found a way to do so. I've heard the rumors quite thoroughly, Sir Kashmir. The 7-Colored Peacock's intelligence network is amazing. I didn't have the time to say so before, but I was really surprised that you were the leader of this incredible information broker agency. It's nothing compared to the Runcandles, young Master Jean. Still, I would like to thank you for your compliment. Phew, I also could not say this, but I vow that I will take your words to my grave. Same here. Even after rescuing Yuria, you and I will have a lot of work to do anyways. Indeed, we are now on the same boat. Even if we can't save my daughter's guardian dragon, I would never betray you, young master. I would assist in your work as if it were my own. I also promise to find and return the dragon. Jean extended his arm and the two shook hands. Kashmir looked much calmer compared to when he first learned about his daughter's condition. They had work to do in order to save Yuria. I will divert all resources of the 7-Colored Peacock to finding the guardian dragon. Good boy. Make sure to play with the kid. I'll be leaving now. Murakan. What do you want, kid? I think I should go too. Sure, whatever. What about strawberry pie? Since you have a fear of heights, you should just stay here. Also, it's a little dangerous. Dangerous. Quickantle's a bitch. And we had a rough past. Lady Gilly, I shall hire an escort to take you there. I'll get some talkative fellows so they can keep you from worrying about Sir Murakan or the young master. If you can, please prepare escorts with Vermont Imperial blood. As Jean said this, Kashmir's eyes widened. Not only was the fact that he led a great information broker agency kept hidden, but also the fact that the great leaders of the 7-Colored Peacock, the Big Seven, had Vermont Imperial blood in their veins wasn't known to the world just yet. Damn, I underestimated the Runcandle's intelligence network. I wasn't planning on hiding it from you, though, young master. I'll see you later, Sir Kashmir. Kashmir left the inn, leaving Jin's crew in the empty room. They flew for at least 2 days to a remote ocean territory near the Vermont Empire. As they approached the vast ocean at a high altitude, Murakan slowly began his descent. They arrived in the early morning, not a single boat afloat in the moonlit waters. During their journey, Jean listened to many stories about various dragons' relations from Murakan. Are you okay with that? According to your stories. I think these dragons won't be friendly towards you. If anything, they'd be compelled with fear. Murakin said that the current dragons residing in the Vermont Empire got beat up by him a long time ago. It was because they encroached and flew near his mountain during his prime. Anyone who invades my territory is welcomed with a beating. It was like that at the time. Wow, you're so cool, Jean sarcastically commented. However, unlike the other five, Murakin's relationship with Quicantle was a little complicated. It was one that was littered with love, as they were in a loving relationship for about 500 years. For humans, it would be equivalent to meeting each other for 5 years. With Quicantle. Why'd you break up? Well, just personality difference. Alright, if I slowly emit my energy, Quicantle or the other goons will come out. I'm starting. Murakin began to emit his energy, but Jean couldn't feel anything. A special energy that only dragons could emit and identify, akin to a dolphin's echolocation. It was a signal that humans could not detect. However, looking down at the ocean directly below Murakin, constant ripples of waves formed. That's cool. So this signal can really reach the Empire's inner boundaries. If estimated, it would at least span about dozens of kilometers. Notifying one's presence only with this energy was very astonishing. It's possible because I'm me. Not all dragons can do this, kid. You're full of yourself. An hour passed. Surprisingly, just as Murakin said, 2 flying figures approached them from afar. It was 2 earth dragons. Labus and Until. As expected of the 2 who I beat the most. Wear your helmet. Jean used Myulta's rune to cover his face. They were moving so fast, the tiny specks in the distance became massive draconic figures in a second. Not fast, more so rushed, as if they were tardy for class. Murakin. As they came closer, Murakin communicated in a high and mighty voice. Earth dragons Labus and Until. I have awoken from my slumber for some tasks. Offer your assistance. The 2 dragons looked at each other, cleared their throats, and slowed the flapping of their wings. Soderet's acquaintance, the ruler of the mountain. I do not know what position you are in, but now is not a good time. Please retreat from this place. Please leave this place. I, Until, do not want a battle in the Vermont Empire's territory. I am glad to greet you today, but I do not wish to put my contractor in danger. Listening to Murakin's altered speech habits along with the other dragons, Jean wanted to burst into laughter. They talked as if they were hypnotizing each other. What do they mean by, get out of here, Murakin shook his head. There is no place for me to hide under this sky. How dare you tell me to flee? Do you fear me? I'm sure I have stated my business. Murakin maintained his composure. The earth dragons lost it. Ah. Fuck, stop. Stop. Now isn't the time. Get out. Quicantle is thirsting for your death right now. If a fight ensues here, our contractor's empire will get destroyed. I'm sure you didn't come knowing that Quicantle is also here. What dost thou mean, my old friends? You claim that the silver dragon of time intends to harm me. Oh, come on. Please, brother, I beg you. Can't you just leave? The other dragons don't know of your awakening, right? If you don't leave, I'll tell the other drag. It seems you forgot your fear, you lowly earth dragons. Would you like to reminisce about the nightmares from 1,000 years ago? Hush. Murakin released his spirit energy, and their surroundings darkened. Just as Murakin said, the earth dragons were scared out of their minds, they couldn't even look Murakin in the eyes. As Jean watched, he found the situation very interesting while also realizing that Murakin was a great dragon in the past. However, if the other dragons were begging as they are now, maybe fleeing the area was a good idea. Whatever. Just as Jean was about to get Murakan to listen to them, the two dragons split apart and began flying in opposite directions. Swoosh! And from far away, causing a great wave of energy, was a figure flying straight at them. Quickantle's breath. Hey, hold on tight, kid. Murakan bolted across the sky to dodge the breath. Jean turned his head and saw the wave of energy that bent space as it traveled. It was comparable to an ultimate ability from a mythical knight. Shwoot, shum. More breaths flew towards them. Murakan danced across the sky, dodging the projectiles. Jean verified the attacker's direction while holding on to Murakan's scales. Shooting breaths and closing the gap. A shiny silver dragon that blended into the night sky finally revealed itself as it flew through the clouds. Quickhantle, the one who guarded the horizon of time. Crack. Quickly closing the gap, Quickhantle opened her snout and snapped at Murakan's neck. Thankfully, it only skimmed his scales, but as their bodies tangled, Murakan felt that he was being overpowered. Unlike Murakan, who lost his power after losing Timar, she was still in her prime. I will disembowel you. Who do you think you are, showing your face on this land? You should have remained asleep. Pretty harsh for a greeting. Murakan untangled himself and backed off. What's this? We have to fight that monstrous dragon. That's why I said it might be dangerous, kid. If she gets any closer, shove Bradamanti into her. Okay.